Okay, so as I ride, I can pick back up on the story of me leaving my career. So again, I had a great career. It was just something that I thrived in. I can remember many times being the only young black woman in a lot of meetings that I attended. I was privy to a lot of information. It just felt good to be good at something, and to promote and all the things or whatever. So anyway, I started to see life differently, and I said to and I'm just this type of person, and I realized it has come at my detriment. Recently, I realized that me deciding that, I'm going to be altruistic and put myself at risk to save the masses or whatever, has come to my detriment in many occasions or whatever. And so leaving my career was one of those things. Like, I left my career saying, I can't do these people like this, I can't see this, and then left. And I have gone through a lot of things leaving my career. First of all, if you are going to leave your job or your career, let's be realistic. My vision, my idea was, okay, I'm going to have faith that my business is going to thrive as soon as I put it out there. Well, first of all, my goal when I first left my career, I was going to open up a daycare center. I had a whole vision. I had started taking classes. I had money to get started or whatever. And then I could never find a location. And then I could never find a location that I could afford. And then, of course, it was starting the time to pay my personal bills. And so before I knew it, that money from my 401k that I had planned to use to start my business and start some more income, it was gone. So within 6 months of me leaving my career, I lost everything. And this is me still doing the things that I thought that I could do to make money, still doing the quote-unquote entrepreneurship things, and it not being enough to meet my needs. Or if it was, I still left my career without the ability to manage my funds. Let me tell you something. If you are leaving your career and you've got a problem managing funds before you leave your career, it's only going to be worse after you leave your career. I'm not saying that to discourage anybody. I just wish that I had planned better and had been better advised. And so when it comes to telling somebody else, I'm going to give you the straight truth. The money that I had, for one, was not enough to pay my bills for 6 months, as well as start a business, for one. Even if I could have worked that out, best case scenario, I still didn't have the means or the mind to manage that money well. So it was gone very fast. I made some bad investments. I'm talking about I was out here like not realizing like there is a basics about money that needs to be understood. So that's number one. Understand like what you need to leave. Have a support system and budget. If you're going to leave, have a plan. I'm not saying I'm going to step out on faith. I don't think nobody step out on faith in the world more than I do. But when I tell you, I could have saved myself a lot of frustration, heartbreak, tears, cries, anger, and all the things had I had a better plan before I left my career. I did not have a good plan at all. So I went through that process, lost everything, ended up moving in with my sister. Remind you, I'm not a person who has ever lived on, at this point in my life, at that point, when I left my career, I had never lived on anybody. I had always been the independent, successful one. And now all of a sudden, me and my then, I think she was 4-year-old daughter was now living on my sister, who allowed us to come live with her after I lost my apartment, after I was evicted from my apartment. So we went to live with my sister and stayed there for 6 months. During these 6 months, I had to end up getting like a little part-time job that I could get, and I got it in like working in a group home, which was enjoyable, but at the same time it wasn't enough to get back on my feet. So this whole time I was just hoping that I could eventually get back on my feet and stay in Atlanta, where that never came to fruition. So one day, and pause, in the process of going through all of this, for some reason I get pregnant with the second child. got pregnant with Zuri. So now at this point, I'm going through all this and I'm pregnant. This is not even supposed to be a story about the life cycle of leaving my job. This is just supposed to be the pointers and the reality that a person might face about leaving their job. I can't leave these little funny moments out, because now they funny, baby. When I tell you I was devastated back then. But anyway, I found out I was pregnant or whatever in the process of living with my sister for those 6 months. And I was talking on the phone to a cousin of mine, and I was telling her like everything that I was going through and just being honest, being with somebody or whatever. And she said, "Cuz, I don't mean to offend you," she said, "but at this point and how things are looking, you might as well just come home." When she said home, she meant my hometown, the town that I live in now. Which I've left again and come back. This is my second time coming back, but that's a different story. So I was up until that point, I was like, "No, I'm gonna tough it out. I'm gonna get back on my feet and stay in Atlanta." Well, I went in the house, got the phone with her, went in the house. I just thought about it for about 5 good minutes, and I said, "Cuz, right, I ain't got nothing here. At least I can go home, and I know I can know some people that know some people, get me a job, get on my feet, rebuild right quick, and then I can come back to Atlanta if I want to." And I don't even come back to Atlanta. I was so burnt out with the situation. Come back to Atlanta wasn't even in the plan at that time. So anyway, I went in that house and I thought about that, and I said, "Cuz, right, I'm finna go home." I called my mom. At the time, my mama had a 1-bedroom apartment. I said, "Mom, I'm coming home." I got the type of mama, she said, "It's whatever, come on home." So me and my then only child and my pregnant belly, at this point I was showing, packed up what we had in my car, which wasn't much. It was me, her, and the stuff in the back seat and whatever could fit in the trunk. Because in the process, everything that I had in the storage from the apartment that I lost, I also lost the storage, so all that stuff was gone too. I was down to 0. So this story is just, as I'm telling it, I'm just like, as a matter of fact, I don't even want nobody to take this advice and think this is gonna happen for you, because this story is like a one-off. Like, who does that happen to? So don't even let this discourage you. Just take this, just laugh with me. That's what we'll do. Just laugh with me. I'm just sharing the story of what happened after I left my career. But it was a very pivotal moment in my life too, as I look back. So anyway, I had lost all that stuff, and I was coming back home to South Georgia, which was a 4-hour drive. I probably just had the money for gas and to get something to eat on the way, probably. I know I ain't had it like that or whatever. And so we come on home, move in with my mama, and again, she has a 1-bedroom apartment. She offered me her bed, but I'm like, "No, Mom, I'm not taking your bed." So I ended up, and my mom was also married, so it was like, I wasn't taking her bed. But of course, with me being pregnant, she didn't mind. But no, I slept on an air mattress in my mama's living room. We had an air mattress in the mama's living room. I made and slept in her recliner because I was pregnant, and that was where I was most comfortable at. Stayed with her for, I think, 3 months, took close to time for they had the baby. But I had a goal of, I am not going to be living with my mama by the time my baby get here. So when I got in town, I found me a job at a call center. I knew the hiring manager, and when I went in for the interview, she told me, "Nikki, I see in your resume you well overqualified to be here," but she hired me anyway. And I'm pretty sure it's because she knew of me, and we just knew mutual people, and we had been in each other's company, and she knew me as a good person. Of course, I knew her as a good person. So anyway, she hired me. That job, my schedule was 2 to 11. I'm an admin person. Weekends off. That's how I'm used to working. But at that time, I had a goal in mind. We got things to do. So I worked that job those last few months of my pregnancy. Even with the eviction on my record, Spirit blessed me to be able to get approved for a house through a small owner. They own this small little house or whatever, and rented it to me. And I was so happy to get my key, because at this point, this is almost a year of living with people. So I got my key, was excited, had everything set up for my baby. By the time we had what she needed, and her dad was and still is involved. So he helped me get things that I needed for her. So everything was set by the time I had that baby. So I got my baby together. By this time I started finding my balance again in that era of my life. After having my baby, I didn't ever go back to that job. I started working for Apple. Worked for Apple for a little while. That allowed me to pay my bills and still stay on my feet or whatever. Oh, I forgot, when I was pregnant with the baby, I walked outside one day, big pregnant. Walked outside to take the big one to school. Baby, the car gone. Let it repossess. So here I am, living with people, living with family. And now my car gone. And the little stuff that I had that we drove. We drove from Atlanta with, girl. It was in the car. And they took the car to somewhere in Florida. Like, they ain't take the car nowhere in town where I could just go get the stuff. Like, the stuff was gone. So anyway, I didn't have a car for a little while. So at that time, I now live with my mom. But I got the type of mama, thank God for my mama. My car was her car. If my mama got $20, she said, Nikki, you can get 15, I'll keep the 5. This is the type of mama I had during those times or whatever. And so I was just blessed. I was just blessed to have her or whatever. So eventually I ended up getting some money from something. Not like a huge lump sum, maybe a couple thousand. I was waiting, that's what it was. I was waiting on some tax money. Just so happened, y'all, this is, I need to write out the details so I can keep them all together. One of the things that was going on while I was living with my sister in that process was that I was waiting for some tax money. Y'all, for the first year ever in my life, and the first time I'm needing taxes like I needed them at that time, my taxes were held up and audited. Baby, when I tell you I kept waiting for that money, and I was supposed to get some good money. That money never did come. So finally, I was back home, I had my baby and everything by the time, no, I was about to have a baby. By the time the money did come, by the time they audited and did everything they needed to do, only like